And yet again, we are live from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, and with me, of course, is the co-host and my fantastic landlady Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, Julia Vatican. I trust you are well.
I am.
Any hot tips?
Oh, not telling.
Why not?
Well, that's a hot.
It's a Friday. Welcome, everybody. Show number 834. We're live from San Francisco. Sorry, we got on the air a couple minutes late. Minor technical problem. That is, thank goodness, is solved as we get into today's show. Julia, number 834 at the starting line. It's Happy Friday, of course. And those of you down under, it's Happy Saturday.
Yeah.
And Happy Bucks Fizz Day.
I've missed a fizz.
Do you have any idea what a Bucks Fizz Day is?
No.
Well, we'll get to that.
I know what a fizz is.
Well, this is not your fizz over at the Yacht Club. Fozzie Focus promised follow-up to last Saturday's Harbor Court commissioning. Coaching corner, Super Fozzie John Emmett, Sail for All. He's talking from his home Castle Cove Sailing Club in Weymouth. AC38 Cup Day. Well, not only do we have Nathan Outeridge named as the skipper, helmsman for Emirates Team New Zealand, really the skipper, co-helmsman, but now large and in charge. But we've got a venue. Yay. With less than 2 years to go to the event in 2027. That year has been confirmed. And as the show slide, the title slide today says, good luck to the Prime Minister in Italian. Sail GP, nothing on Sail GP. I thought I was going to have something. I left it blank thinking we'd get something. The IQ Foil International Youth Classes wrap at Garda. Well, they're wrapped. But the ILCA 6 and 7 Worlds are adrift in Qingdao. They finally got a couple races in.
Oh, good.
And last leg, catching up with John Emmett at GBR again. No, not really. The last leg today is going to be more. Well, it is catching up with him because he's doing the live television from Qingdao. But we're going to catch up with a nice video that is summarizing what's going on. Not a summary, really, but just a nice video on Naples and what to expect. There. I'll look around the town. I've spent a fair bit of time there. Have you been there?
Yes.
Nice town, but
not for prolonged period of time.
Crime is not great there.
No,
but violent crime is not. But the pickpockets, as somebody said to me this morning, Ben Ainsley lost his watch in Barcelona, but
found it in Naples.
No, but in Naples they'll steal your watch in Barcelona, but they'll steal Ben in Naples. I'm not sure it's quite. I'm sure it's not quite that bad. We'll get into all that. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, our fantastic Fozzie, and more. And here's our cover slide: In Boca al Lupo, which literally means in the mouth of the wolf. And that's how I feel the Signora Primo Ministro, the Prime Minister. I think she is in the mouth of the wolf here. She's got a big undertaking. Bravo Zulu to her for taking this on. I hope this event turns out great in Naples, but I'll reserve judgment and see how all the rest of you are feeling as well as we get into this show today. I want to thank Pedro Foiling Sailor, Peter Stevenson, for the terrific presentation he gave us on Tuesday. If you haven't seen that show number 833, go back and have a look because it really was one of our better shows. Actually, the last couple shows have been full of information, right? Don't you think?
Yep.
So go back and have a look. Thanks again, Peter Stevenson from Sydney Live. That was a terrific show indeed, talking about his acquisition of Australia. That's Australia 1, not Australia 2, the boat that won in 83. This is the boat that raced in 77 and 80. For the Aussies in the Cup in Newport. Nice acquisition. He's going to put it to good use. Julia.
Yes.
What are we celebrating today?
Well, I saw fizz, but I don't know what kind of fizz it is. It's not my fizz.
Well, that Bucks Fizz actually turns out to be a mimosa.
Oh, okay.
That was the origin of the drink apparently in London. And today, May 16th, Julia, is Mimosa Day.
I'm ready for that. That'll be good.
You know, since this is the drinking show with the sailing habit, we're going to celebrate the mimosa, which has taken over, I think, one hears, it has taken over for the Bloody Mary
I-
as the brunch drink of choice.
Yes.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Is that your brunch drink of choice?
No.
The mimosa? Named after a beautiful plant with yellow flowers, the mimosa is a cocktail that has been around for about a century, since the early 1920s anyway. An ancestor, or perhaps an inspiration to this cocktail, was the Bucks Fizz, which seems to have been created at the Bucks Club in London, 1921. This similar drink also combines orange juice and champagne, but tends to have a larger amount of the sparkling wine. It was sort of 2-to-1 instead of 1-to-1, which is what I think you get for the modern day mimosa, right?
Yeah.
We drink that here at the Beach Street Yacht Club,
Yes.
a mimosa.
Yes.
We have a breakfast event or a brunch event here.
Mhm.
We are also celebrating, as always, the FOSI, the Super FOSI, the FOSI, those who contribute to us, those who contribute content and beyond. We especially appreciate the patrons, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, if you would like to join that, this illustrious crowd of contributors that keep our studio intact, keep our streaming fees paid. That's all we use the Patreon money for, is to keep this show on the air.
And it also because they inspire us all the time.
Put your mic right up against your mouth, would you? Put your mouth up next to your mic. There we go. They do inspire us all the time, and we appreciate very much. There's Fog Machine, Lance Burke over at St. Francis Yacht Club, saying real sailors have a Ramos fizz, a gin fizz, or a tequila fizz, as you like, Julia. He says it's a weekend eye-opener. After that, all is fair game.
True enough.
Joe Cool, yes, true, just like gin fizz's past tense.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Trump is still away on his golf tour trip, Stingray is asking. Alan Long says, mimosas are a Sunday drink. You don't have them otherwise, but I don't know. Christopher Gillingham agrees they are most refreshing, champagne and orange juice, as Joe Holtzman checking in from Winnie Whitney, Wendy, Colorado, up in Estes Park in Colorado. Thanks again to all of you who do contribute to the show. Little FOSI Focus update here. Just a couple of things that have happened with super cool people, friends of Sailing Illustrated. We told you on Tuesday about last weekend's Harbor Court commissioning up in Newport, New York Yacht Club's fabulous Harbor Court. You really can't call it a station. It's their main yacht club on the water, in addition, of course, to their traditional historic clubhouse in Midtown Manhattan, downtown New York City. That was the scene from the top of the hill, and we promised to give you a shot of looking from the bottom of the hill back up at the crowd assembled at Harbor Court. There it is. Nice photo courtesy of Dan Nerney, and it was a huge turnout on a day that started out a little gloomy, a little rainy, a little foggy, but it turned into a nice afternoon. And many FOSI were there, not only New York Yacht Club members, but invited guests, commodores of various clubs, representatives of various organizations there for the start of the yachting season in the cultural heart of yacht racing, at least in this country, if not beyond. Nice thing. Thank you, Dan Nerney. Thank you, Claire Harrington, for that. Speaking of Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club.
Yes.
Look at that, Julia.
Look who she's with.
She's with Andrew. The Gulf Cup guru, Andy Rose, who is also a super FOSI. That photo courtesy of Patrick Lieber. They were all together last night in Newport at the Sailing Museum, the TSM, the Sailing Museum. Really the opening for the season there as well. And they're both major contributors, as are any number of other FOSI, New York Yacht Club members and beyond, who contribute to that museum on Lower Thames Street. Several of you have been there. There's several of you from outside of the States even, and commend it to all of us, as I've been there virtually. I've never been in person, I don't think, since it's open.
We've had two really good virtual tours.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's getting better by the month. So I commend it to you, as do Claire and Andy, who were there last night for that big function at the Sailing Museum. Now, Julia, this is by way of rumor control.
Yes.
There is no truth to the rumor, Julia.
Oh.
And I've been pinged by more than one person to know if President Trump was going to lend you his new plane, his new Qatari plane.
Oh, yes.
But tell us the truth, Julia. Is that true or is that cretonic?
Well, it's always possible.
I think it's cretonic. A lot of people in this country are not too wild about that jet.
No, I'm not too wild about that transaction.
I think it's fantastic. Why not? If countries want to give us things, we give things to countries all the time.
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it, Julia? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But speaking of that, and Stingray brought it up with President Trump cutting a wide swath through the Middle East on his various stops. Apparently, there was a match race between an American flagged boat and a Qatari boat. Speaking of Qatar, some people would pronounce it, in Doha earlier this week. That photo, courtesy of Clayton Embley, not that he was there, but he did find it in his social media feed, and I thought it was a pretty cool photo.
Yes.
Thank you, Fozy Clayton Embley. Speaking of which, Julie, you want some of his bourbon cream in your coffee, since we've just mentioned him?
Oh, yeah, maybe we better. It'll brighten my day.
Brighten your day. Is it not already bright? When you come
quite
down here with me in Studio B.
How could I help it be bright?
Exactly. Tell me when.
When?
How can you not have some of Clayton Embley's? He's sending us another. I've got a notification, in fact, of a delivery. I'm not sure from whom it is coming. Clayton Embley's bourbon cream, Julia. How is it? Heavenly?
Heavenly. The day is getting brighter already.
Speaking of Clayton Embley, he's in D.C. next week. He's going to ask President Trump if you can borrow his plane.
Would you please? Thank you very much. I have a very important passenger
list. You promised to charter one and take us all around to these events now.
Right.
You're rich, you know.
Oh, yes.
Market's up again.
Yes.
Brendan Larrabee saying maybe ask the city of Troy how those wonderful gifts worked out for them. People are Greeks bearing gifts, right? Rumor control while we're at it. It is true, in fact, that the World Match Racing Tour has added the first ever event in Ireland. And this was a text this morning from our Super Fozy James Pleasance in the UK. And indeed, the Irish Match Racing Association, the World Match Racing Tour, have teamed up to host an event in Dublin. The brand new Dublin Match Race Cup will bring the world's best match racing sailors to Dublin shores, marking a significant milestone for the country's sailing community. 12 teams will be invited to the debut event in September to be sailed in the waters of, you know how to pronounce that?
No.
Dunleary.
Dunleary.
You've heard Dunleary many, many times. Well, that's how it's spelled. Dunleary Harbor in an identical fleet of JATs. It'll be hosted by the National Yacht Club, one of Ireland's premier sailing institutions. The event will take place against the stunning backdrop of Dublin Bay. The best time of the weather year is September. It'll be fantastic. The Dublin Match Cup is expected to attract top international teams, further solidifying Ireland's position on the global sailing map. As match racing continues to grow worldwide, this event aligns with the Irish Match Racing Association's commitment to fostering homegrown talent and increasing participation in the sport.
That's all good news.
All great news, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's true. It's not a rumor. We heard there was a rumor about such an event, but now we know it is true. And the Commodore said, quote, "We are honored to welcome the World Match Racing Tour sailors and supporters to the National Yacht Club this September to compete for the Dublin Match Cup." That's the Commodore of the National Yacht Club, Peter Sherry. This event, he says, highlights the growing interest in the skill and excitement of match racing among Irish sailors. Dunleary Harbor and Dublin Bay offer some of the best racing conditions and sailing facilities in Europe, and we look forward to welcoming the world's top match racing sailors who will bring the skill, strategy, and excitement of this dynamic sailing discipline.
I agree.
And I noted in Dawn Riley's Oak Cliff newsletter that just came out a day or two ago, she is again urging everybody in and around Oak Cliff and beyond to try match racing. Put it in at your local club and try it, even for weekend or weeknight sailors, for club sailors, because you do learn so much so fast.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Match racing's great stuff. We celebrate it in the America's Cup and beyond. Speaking more about this event coming up, WMRT Executive Director and our Super Fozy James Pleasance added, quote, "We are delighted to be supporting IMRA with the launch of the Dublin Match Cup as our first ever tour stage in Ireland. We've had a number of Ireland-based teams compete on the tour, and I'm confident this new event will grow in the years to come and encourage new teams to get involved in match racing and on the tour." And that is nice news from James. Congratulations to everybody involved. Speaking of great teams, Irish match racing teams that are on the up and coming, this is Tom Higgins, the 2024 Irish match racing champ, and also did well in the World Youth Match Racing Championships last year in Jeddah. I don't think he won. He didn't win it for sure because we know that Cole Tapper did. But he is also a Gov Cup veteran, I should say, and down at Balboa Yacht Club, I know Andy Rose and I and the others, Greg Newman and Christine Gribben, we all just think very highly of him and his team. They are such, ladies and gentlemen, they were so, I just know they were just so polite and so mature and great kids and great representatives of their country when they were at Gov Cup the last couple of years. Tom Higgins. Okay, so much for the Fozy Focus as we have the Prime Minister, the Primo Ministro back there in our cover slide, brings us to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. Super Fozy John Emmett from Great Britain. He's probably not on the show today. He's probably sleeping after being up all night, all week doing television or trying to do television from his studio in Weymouth. His apartment of the Ilka Worlds with his wife, and the weather has not cooperated there, but they did finally get a couple races in today, the 16th, and they'll be back live tonight with more. But before that, let's get to his report from his home club there in Weymouth. John
Hi,
Emmett.
Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. If you haven't done so already, please share the feed. As always, the more people who watch, the better, and we really want to welcome new people into the Fozy. You can probably tell from my background, I'm at Castle Cove Sailing Club, and it makes me laugh. A lot of my friends will say, what lovely weather we're having. But you can probably see from the background, it's not fantastic weather for sailing at the moment. So I'm hoping when Lily turns up, we will have gone into those southwesterly sea breezes. But at the moment, it seems we've got stuck in the spring with the easterlies and the westerlies fighting and not much wind a lot of the time. And that is the nature of sailing. If it was always the same, it would be very boring. And actually that's what I'd say possibly against those venues with completely reliable wind conditions. You just end up with a drag race, one size fits all, and a very easy optimization. I always think the most worthy winner is somebody who performs when in light winds, strong winds, flat water, big waves, small waves, and the wind coming from every direction of the compass. That for me is a true champion. But of course, when we have major regattas, we end up knowing we need to optimize for certain conditions, whether that's sailing style, whether it's your rig, whether it's your body weight, all these things. But sailing, I've said it many times before, it is definitely a sport which rewards patience. And we've seen that with the Ilka Worlds where the wind has not played ball. And this is frustrating. And believe me, it's just frustrating for absolutely everybody. It's not just the sailors who are affected, you know, the media, the race officer, probably especially the race officer, because one of the issues with being a technical delegate is probably people remember every single thing that you ever do wrong, and they don't remember the countless occasions that you've made really strong, difficult decisions which have come out well. I thought that's probably what being a really top CEO is about. It's not about the day-to-day running, it's about those small number of very important decisions and making the correct ones. But yeah, sailing, it's definitely a sport which rewards patience, and having those little routines there, it's very important. How you kill time, it can be a personal thing, it's listening to music, playing Uno with your friends, going and doing some stretching, a light run, just so that you can actually get, you know, a way and switch off so that when you are back and racing, you can be fully focused. And it's something I've done a lot of shorts about, because everybody talks about the hard training and the hard racing, but there's a lot to sailing on the outside, and it's such a dynamic sport. You know, when we have people from outside the sport come in to try and help run it, I think it's hard for them to understand how many variables is in one race, let alone a championship or an entire season. But for me, that's what makes it the most fun. But yeah, please spare a thought for those poor race officers, etc., who are doing very difficult jobs. I mean, for example, being a jury has never particularly attracted me, because it's such a necessary evil, if you like, because nobody likes having penalties, but it makes the racing as fair as it possibly can be. And you know, these people, a lot of them are volunteers, and our sport is based on volunteers. I'm just here at Castle Cove doing the Sail for All programme meeting. I'm taking out 15 minutes to do this filming, and then I'm meant to be in the General Committee meeting. All these people are volunteers making it easier for other people to sail. And actually the most important people in a way are the young people and the new members, because they're the future of our sport. So we need to be as welcoming and open arms as we possibly can be to encourage participation. And when you talk about race officers, and this is probably the theme, you know, a lot of the clubs will just have volunteer race officers. They're not professionals, they're doing their best, and actually, possibly, they prefer to be racing anyway themselves. So yeah, let's all have a bit of patience and be kind to each other and just enjoy our time on the water, remembering to sail fast, have lots and lots of fun, but also keep it safe. Bye for now.
Yeah, see, he got right off at 0. Everybody was wondering whether he'd get off at 0. If he doesn't, that's my fault, not his, because I put that counter in for each of our videos.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives Julia and myself a tip as to when the video is going to end.
Right.
Right on time, John Emmett. Yes, and he is in Weymouth, and he is doing the television for the ILCA Worlds, the ILCA 6 and 7 Worlds in Qingdao in China, at the venue of the Olympics. What did we decide the other day? 2008? Is that when the Olympics were in Qingdao in China? And the sailing was out in Qingdao. Of course, the main Olympics were in Beijing. But he is covering this, and they will be live again tonight for the final day of racing at 1900 Pacific, which of course is 2200 on the East Coast here, 0200 for those of you in Europe. And they've been really quite good. As you know, John did the coverage for us, Julia. He was one of our Zoomers. Mm-hmm. Good job they did, all the Zoomers did during our coverage of the America's Cup when we did our watch parties. And he did some of the play-by-play, and he's really good. He's and then you've got Lily there in Qingdao doing on-site coverage, and it's good. We also like this. You were going to say something.
I think the two of them together are fabulous for the sport.
Indeed. And multilingual.
Yes.
We also like to say and remind everybody we're going to keep behind this push to get parasailing back in as a demonstration event for the Olympics 2032 in Brisbane. If you haven't already made that push by writing, please do. We've been talking about this since late January, our show number 805, and John Emmett helped lead that charge with the panel discussion. And especially you Aussies, I hope you're putting the pressure on the Brisbane Organizing Committee to include sailing in the Paralympics. We appreciate it. And then maybe we'll be full-time after that. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And we appreciate his regular contributions to our shows. Julia, this day in history, do you know what happened on this day in history, the 16th of May?
What year? 48.
1948.
48.
So you were alive then. You were what, 9 years old?
Mm-hmm.
8 or 9?
Yep.
16th of May. Apropos what's going on, I try to pick these things so that you have some relation to sailing or some relation to current events, or some relation to one of the FOSI or Super FOSI. And this has tangential import for you, but for what's going on in the Middle East right now. Here's your first clue. Any idea? Do any of the FOSI, while you're thinking about it,
48 is when Israel became a state.
Well done. Julia, you get applause. That's really well done. You remember that from age 8 or 9?
Sure.
You do? I'm impressed. Gordon Smith is speaking of applause. John Emmett Lilly's commentary is excellent. I managed to catch it this morning. Nice. So who is this guy, Julia? What's his connection to Israel?
Oh, Ben Gurion. Oh, Weizmann.
Almost. That was Ben Gurion. That was a good close call too. You know how to pronounce Chaim? Chaim.
Chaim.
Yeah, that's right. In that
Chaim.
back of the throat. That's very good. Chaim Weizmann. Weizmann.
Yeah.
He was Russian, born in Belarus of all places, and then immigrated, of course, to Israel, 1874 to 1952. But he was famously a biochemist. Weizmann is considered to be the father of industrial fermentation. He developed the acetone, butanol, ethanol, this is apropos sailing, fermentation process, which produces acetone. You can't do fiberglass boats without acetone. You need acetone for carbon and other, and butanol and ethanol through bacterial, I had no idea, bacterial fermentation. His acetone production method was of great import in the manufacture of cordite explosive propellants for the British, where he had emigrated to the UK, the British war industry during World War I. He founded the Seif Research Institute in Rehovot, later renamed the Weizmann Institute of Science in his honor, and was instrumental in the establishment of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. But more importantly, Julia...
He sailed.
No, not that I know of, although he was a friend of a sailor who invented... who gave us the theory of relativity and who was one of the co-inventors of the nuclear bomb. Einstein. Big sailor he was. Chaim Weizmann was the first president of the newly formed state of Israel. Actually became officially president in 1949, but he was the provisional president beginning on this date in 1948, and he was so until he died in 1952. Prior to that, for many decades, he was the leader of the worldwide Zionist movement, which, has sort of a negative connotation, I think, in today's world, Zionism. But really, it was the idea that the Jews ought to have their own state in Palestine or in and around Palestine, and that was the Zionist movement. I won't belabor the rest of that, but he ended up as the first president. He had a bit of a pro-British bias, and of course, it was the Brits who created that state. After World War II. And on this date, he became president of Israel, indeed the country's first president, Chaim Weizmann. This day in history, he became the provisional president of Israel. And, you start to wonder, with all that's going on and Trump's apparently hugely successful visit there, let's just hope, maybe, knock on wood, after all these, not just the last 100 years, but all these hundreds of years, maybe
thousands.
Exactly, all the thousands of years, maybe we can have some kind of a peace. Ted Ryman says he has a pro-British bias too, notwithstanding he's living in South Africa. Alan Long, hence that famous Jewish wine. What do you mean we're not going to Miami this year? Wading through controversial topics like an elephant on meth illustrated. Well, it's not a controversial topic, but we're willing to, and we welcome all views on all topics, including whether Naples is going to be a great venue, Julia. Going to ask the Fozy about that.
You can eat well.
Clark Chapin's questioning my characterization of the trip, Trump's trip in the Middle East, as hugely successful. He is not a big fan of President Trump, Clark Chapin, our very dear friend for many years. But, everybody's entitled to their view and opinion, especially here on Sailing Illustrated. Julia, that gets us to the Cup.
Yes.
And our AC38 Cup date. And this is the Prime Minister. I don't know her. I've read a lot about her. She seems to be very popular in Italy. She has elections coming up right after the Cup. Giorgia Meloni, the young, obviously female, the young prime minister of Italy, she was the first one. It happened The statement had come out, and it was embargoed. We knew it was coming. Those of us in the yachting media, the sailing media, and it was embargoed. So we were supposed to keep our mouths shut, and indeed everybody did, including and especially Richard Gladwell.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lady, apparently, the Primo Ministro, got a bit ahead of the power curve, and she made the announcement herself, as often happens.
Yes.
When politicians are involved.
And have a chance.
And that's so that's why the ETNZ issued, that is Emirates, no longer Emirates, by the way. The Team New Zealand issued memo came out, the press release came out here at 01:05 yesterday morning, but she had already announced it by saying Italy will host the next edition of the America's Cup sailing competition in 2027 in Naples. The country's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, said Thursday it will be the first time for Italy to organize such an event, which is considered the most prestigious sailing competition in the world.
Absolutely.
She is quoted as saying, "I am proud to announce that the America's Cup will be contested for the first time in its history in Italia," Meloni said in a statement. Her statement went on to say New Zealand, which are the three-time defending champions, said earlier this year they would not seek to host the 2027 edition due to lack of governmental financial support. Yeah.
And?
Okay. She said the choice of Naples will contribute to reinforce the renewed protagonism of the south of Italy, which has rediscovered its dynamism and pride over the past years, recording a higher gross domestic product and employment growth than the national average, the Prime Minister said. She added Italy was looking forward to hosting the America's Cup. Quote, "Italy will be up to this challenge and will show once again to the world what it is capable of." And Julia, you would have said, of which or of what Italy is capable, being the grammarian you are. Huh?
Yes.
Here is there. Go ahead.
No, I wish them luck and great speed when doing that. That's a big challenge, and I want it to succeed.
I do too. I want it to succeed. I want there to be 17 teams like we had in 1987, or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 teams like we've had at the other events in Newport, to say nothing of then Perth. The high water mark was 17. 13 challengers, 4 defenders. It was a fabulous event. And we had in San Diego, 92, 95, we had around about 10 teams. We had in Valencia, or Auckland, 2000, 2003, round about 10 teams. Likewise, in 2007, Ernesto Bertarelli put on a terrific event. He and his team of friends from his high school days were a couple of the guys that were leading, or one of them anyway. Gordon Smith says, great choice of venue. I think the event will be great. Well, it depends what you define and how you define, Gordon, a great event. We'll see. And Mark Holland, I would be more concerned about the winds and the weather. Well, we will get into that, sir, after we look at the official video that was released yesterday by Team New Zealand with the announcement.
New Zealand are one of the most storied teams in America's Cup history. They lift the trophy 3 times in a row.
Up to the boat. Yeah, that'd be nice, Simon. He's gone.
Both these boats are fast. More history is created for the very first time. Luna Rossa win the Pooch Women's America's Cup.
That's a big wave. So I'm going to target 1 here on the heel.
This one is just a little bit special.
We got to pick it up again.
So a couple things that you can see are that it's being sponsored again. The title's sponsor is Louis Vuitton. As they were last time, they took a cycle off when Prada was the title partner, as you may recall, in 2020. won. And it's going to be in Naples. It's the 38th edition of the oldest trophy in international sport, as you all know. And this beautiful picture went out with the main release from Team New Zealand, from ostensibly the 38th America's Cup media, which is being done by the team's media group. Italy to host the Louis Vuitton 38th America's Cup in the city of Napoli, Naples, airport code NAP. We'll start to use that as an abbreviation, no doubt. The government of Italy, in conjunction with Team New Zealand, note too that there is no reference to Emirates in the team's name, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would have thought they would have extended and stayed in. Maybe Emirates is going to support Sir Ben Ainsley's team, because remember, they've been supporting his SailGP team. Emirates
I hadn't
branding.
thought about that, yes.
So let's see what's going on. Or do they come back in with a big announcement sometime down the road and rejoining as the title partner with Team New Zealand? In conjunction with Emirates, Team New Zealand, and the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron are pleased to announce Italy as the host country and Naples as the host city for the Louis Vuitton 38th America's Cup to be held in the spring and summer of 2027. So that no dates specific yet, but spring and summer means, right now. We're less than 2 years away from this, Julia.
Yeah, I know.
And we haven't had a 2-year cycle in a long time.
Might improve it.
The last time there was a 2-year cycle, besides the deed of gift, forget about deed of gift for the moment, but was 62, 64, when it was in the same venue, Newport, Rhode Island, the same boats, 12-meter, same rule. In fact, there were hardly any adjustments to the rule. And even this last time, you say, well, it was a 3-year difference when they changed venues from Auckland to Barcelona, but not really. It was 3.5 years, because Auckland was in January, February.
Right.
Barcelona was in October, November. That's 3.5 years, the better part of 4 years, changing venues with only 2 years' time, less than 2 years' time. By the teams have got to get there. They got to get their bases sorted out.
You got to figure out what they're sailing and what the rules are.
Well, to say nothing of all that. This is going to be a logistical challenge, to say the least. And as Chris Exley points out, only 2 years will probably limit the number of competing syndicates. Yes, indeed. So we'll see what happens. But that's the first thing that smacks you right in the face. If you're a prospective team and you're saying, oh my God, Emirates Team New Zealand already have rewritten the class rules, so they know what the rule is. They've been doing the weather study on and they know where the sailing will be. They haven't announced it yet publicly, and maybe not even to the teams, prospective teams. So they've been doing the weather study for months, and once again, the Defender has a huge head start on the rest of the teams, and we're only talking about now a 2-year cycle. 2 years.
I keep thinking of Elon Musk's 3 pillars for moving things, and part of that is just moving fast. And and
he's that's when you're a multi-billionaire, centibillionaire, worth $200 or $300 billion, and you've got lots of people, and you're an up and running organization. But imagine a new team trying to come in, or a team that's been up, but then as everybody's gone away.
Ask yourself, what would Elon Musk do?
Yeah, but who's got Elon Musk as a backer? I mean, Sir Ben doesn't even have Jim Ratcliffe as a backer anymore. Well, okay. You just say, get on. Would you go enter a team now on behalf of St. Francis Yacht Club, be the chairman of the syndicate, raise the money? It takes 2 years to raise the money sometimes.
Yes, it does.
It's going to be a challenge. Okay, now here was how it got covered on 3 News last night in Auckland, in New Zealand, I should say.
A coastline famed for super yachts and the super rich has just secured a new mega attraction. The America's Cup is going to Naples. It will be the first time sailing's biggest prize will be contested in Italy, the home of one of Team New Zealand's fiercest rivals, Luna Rossa. Senior correspondent Lisette Raymer has the details.
The sea is set for the 38th America's Cup. A a glitzy announcement video making it official, and the new host city was shaking in celebration.
Had a report they were dancing on the streets in Naples. It's funny. I was waiting for the contract to be signed 48 hours ago with the government, and there was an earthquake in Naples. Oh, not a big one.
The port city of Naples is one of Europe's most fanatical sporting cities and was even the home of football great Diego Maradona for years. 2027 will be the first time sailing's top trophy has been fought for in Italy, the base of Team New Zealand's great rivals, Luna Rossa.
Have you almost handed over the home turf advantage?
See, this is, in my opinion, one of the great fallacies, that hometown makes it harder because there's so many outside pressures. This organisation is very good at, we're raiders, really. We're sort of like Vikings. And when we're offshore, we have no distractions. We just work.
Team New Zealand did want to bring the cup back to Auckland, but the government wasn't keen to front up the around $50 million contribution. Greece was very keen, and so too was the Middle East.
It wasn't a Dutch auction. We just set a number. Match that number and we can talk. And all of the countries match that number.
Naples has played host to America's Cup boats before, drawing a million-strong crowd more than a decade ago. The mayor declaring overnight that this will be the city's most significant sporting occasion ever. The home of pizza, about to become the temporary home for sailing's best, all hungry for old mug glory.
How much serious conversation will there be around how much pizza and pasta everyone's allowed to consume?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to change the diets for some of us for sure. I know my little boy Charlie, who's 4, his favourite food is pizza and pasta, so he's probably the happiest person I know at the moment.
You're in the good books.
Absolutely.
Just in case skippering the famous boat wasn't enough.
Julia, you're in the good books, especially if you can raise a couple $100 million for an America's Cup startup for St. Francis Yacht Club. You got the jet now from Trump, right?
Right. No problem.
You got the jet.
I thought
You got.
there is a way to do it.
Clayton Embly's going to ask Mr. Trump for your jet. He can fly around the Qatari jet, and you can probably go to Qatar right away and raise some more money there, Julia.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, the branding still says Emirates. I rather suspect that they don't have a contract, and Mr. Dalton is putting some pressure on the Emiratis, the Emirates airline folks, to come to the party and say, hey, I'm not going to call ourselves Emirates Team New Zealand anymore. Yeah, we got our old shirts until we can print some new ones. So we'll see what happens with respect to Emirates coming on or continuing on as the title partner of what we used to call, and Clark Chapin reminds me, I'm probably still calling it ETNZ. Now, as Claire Harrington has just been saying, and Stingray and I have been talking, I had a long talk with Stingray this morning, who posted a lot of things about Naples. He did a good job. And Andrew McIrvin, who is there as we speak in Naples, or at least he's at the Trofeo Tre Golfi, the 3 Golfs. And the Bay of Naples is where the sailing happens. That's where the 1960 Olympics happened. We'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. Then when we had the America's Cup there, the pre-regattas in 2012 and 2013, I think those were the 2 years. We had 2 of them there. And I'm going to also show you a little bit about that. The technical bases were also there right on the shore, and the course was right offshore, and it was very close. The boats were kept in the water overnight most of the time, and they were on buoys, and they were lit, and it was a beautiful scene, beautiful setting. But the America's Cup team bases are going to have to go around the corner, out and around the corner to a town, and they've announced this, a town to a part of Naples called Bagnoli. It looks like Bagnoli, but if you look, as Stingray and I went online this morning to see what the proper pronunciation of Bagnoli. It's Bagnoli. It's like canyon, and it's a industrial area, and they are all trumpeting the redevelopment of this industrial area, Bagnoli. And the problem is, it's as Stingray told me this morning, it's going to be a bit like, You know, the super fund here in the U.S. when the EPA was formed and they put all that huge funds of money to go around and clean up toxic waste dumps of nuclear and other toxic dumps. Well, that's what this Bagnoli was, shipyard and steel mill and beyond. And they went in and capped it with concrete to cover up the asbestos and all of the toxic waste. And now they want to go in and clean that up and turn it into team bases and a modern seaside development. That's why I'm wishing the Prime Minister good luck, because apparently this was done from Rome, more than money from Naples. Yeah, Naples is excited. Who wouldn't be? And they are a sports mad town. And yes, they're a interesting town. I spent, as I said, a lot of time there myself and have some close connections. I'm going to go into that later on, not in this show, but we do have pictures courtesy of Stingray and others. But I want to get the facts before we start going off on this show about Bagnoli and what a potentially difficult development that is going to be. Let's just, Stingray says those old docks at Bagnoli are very long. I think it must be quite shallow, close to the shore. Hi, Dan Jaspers, who is in the UK. What else here? So we'll see. There, by the way, at the end of that video is, interestingly, is the new skipper there on the right is Nate Outeridge. And anybody who says, oh, he's an Aussie, sorry, he is an Aussie by birth, but let's face it, he's married to a Kiwi. He's been living in New Zealand forever. He's been with his team forever. And, you know, the world is a different place today than it was 50 years ago, let alone 100 and, 200 years ago. So, no, Gordon Smith, cleaning up and reusing a property is not a bad thing. It's a fabulous thing.
Just takes time and money.
Exactly. Say that again, Julia.
Just takes time and money.
And Gordon Smith said, I rather think that's to be encouraged and celebrated. Well, it is to be encouraged and celebrated. But in 2 years' time, they're going to do that? Come on, Gordon. Be realistic here. So you've got the skipper and the old skipper in this image at the end of that video, because as you all know, Pete Burling did not have his contract renewed. And that raises the question of what about SailGP versus the America's Cup going forward, because Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley's piece today, his post on the Rule 69 blog via Substack, went on and on about how the sailors from and he tried to say that Russell Coutts, that's why Russell Coutts is saying that we got to have more new, younger sailors coming into SailGP, because somehow the old guys are going to jump back to the Cup. The guys in SailGP are being paid better.
Yeah.
Or as well, at least. And it's a regular, full-time, ongoing job, unlike the America's Cup, which is build up, and build down.
Yeah.
Tear up, tear down. And you don't know if you're going to have a job. You don't know if there's going to be a team behind you, underneath you, the next Cup. It's the way we call it, a campaign. It's like a political campaign. I lived that life for 40 years, 40 plus. Bagnoli is pronounced San Pedro. Banro's making fun of me. Well, he should. Vesuvius will probably erupt again. Pompeii too, Ryman is suggesting. Well, they did have that little quake, but they have quakes there a lot, and Vesuvius has not erupted in, a long, long time. But I think Blake Middleton is right, Julia. I think SailGP is going from strength to strength, and I think it will be very difficult for an America's Cup team to drag people out of SailGP back to the America's Cup when it's more prestigious. It's the top event in our sport. It hopefully always will be. But is SailGP going to shut down in the spring and summer?
How many people are we talking about?
Well,
going from
depends. Good question. How many teams? How many teams are there going to be?
I'm talking about how many individuals. Well, really,
it might be just a handful.
Yeah.
But is Tom Slingsby going to leave SailGP and his Australian team and go back to New York Yacht Club if New York Yacht Club does this again?
I don't know, but I'm still thinking it's probably about 10 or 15
it's
people.
Dozens, because there's support people too that work for the teams. Dozens. But it's a good question. But is SailGP going to shut down in May, June, July, or is Russell and Larry going to keep going?
I think they'll not. Why should they shut down?
Well, exactly. There's Tracker. I guess that's Ed Worley. Cleaning up is a great goal. It is very complicated and expensive and time-consuming. The toxic waste in the sediment at the docks and anchorage, indeed. Jody Shields moving around Europe, not at Wanji as usual. He's saying hi from Amsterdam. So this begs a lot of questions, and Fozy, I'm sure we'll all be discussing this today and beyond. I just wanted to introduce the topic and the questions and not so much take sides myself or anybody else, but a lot of interesting questions here. And here was, no surprise, Ben Ainsley's statement, because he's very positive and upbeat because he's looking for GBP, great pound sterling, Great British pounds. And Ben said in a statement last night, the venue announcement is always a milestone moment for the America's Cup, and Naples is a fantastic choice, one of the most celebrated and historic cities in Europe. Well, it's getting a little carried away, but it's certainly an historic city. Yeah. Now set to host the world's oldest and most prestigious international sporting trophy. His quote continues, Italy's huge sailing fan base will create a spectacular atmosphere. That's true.
That's true. For
the millions of visiting fans, while the drama of America's Cup racing against the backdrop of the Bay of Naples promises, if there's some wind, promises to deliver a world-class broadcast product. My sponsor, potential sponsors, listen to me. Mm-hmm. We're going to deliver a world-class broadcast product. How many teams, Ben? Naples offers not only an excellent sailing arena, but also an exceptional platform for commercial partnerships. Mm-hmm. And is well positioned to deliver an America's Cup that excels both on and off the water. Okay, that's exactly what you would expect Ben to say. The teams and prospective teams have to be positive.
Yes.
Have to be upbeat. They got to sell this like the best thing since sliced bread, right?
Yes.
Now, what did the Commodore of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron have to say? In that same official release, as current holder and the worst trustee in the history, it doesn't say that, and trustee of the America's Cup, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron is looking forward to Naples. Yeah, right. I think they'd be looking a lot more forward to if it were in Auckland. But they're looking forward to Naples, Italy, being a vibrant catalyst for the continued growth of the America's Cup. Mm-hmm. Quote, Italy has long been one of Team New Zealand's fiercest and most passionate rivals, true, in the America's Cup. And we are thrilled to see Naples, thrilled? Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. To see Naples, Italy named as the host venue. And see the third person? They didn't say we, the Defender trustee, named it as the host venue. We are thrilled to see it named as the host venue for the 38th America's Cup, said Commodore David Blakey of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron.
Do we know about David Blakely?
We do. Blakey?
Blakey?
No, we don't.
Let's invite him on.
Well, we shall. Rick Bannerow, the best thing since sliced pizza, not just sliced bread. Mark Holland, we need a serious forum to study exactly what must be done to bring the Cup back to New York Yacht Club. Well, that, but also this statement, which, says continued growth of the America's Cup. Well, growth? Well, there's no question that Italy, and we've been saying this all along, is going to be a fabulous, the tifosi, as they say in Formula One, there'll be, and there were when we had those pre-America's Cup regattas there in 2012 and 13. We had 1 million people on the shoreline. It was fabulous. I was there. I'll show you a video in a minute. But how many teams are there going to be? I ask you that question again, Julia. I ask you that question.
They're not going to be 12. It's too short.
It's too short. It's too expensive. There's going to be the Defender, Team New Zealand. Mm-hmm. There will be the Italian Challenger because they're sailing and they've got money and it's in their home country and they'll be there.
Right.
Luna Rossa. Mr. Pirelli apparently is backed out. Maybe he'll come back. Hopefully he will. The Pirelli's company. Who else? The French. The French equipment is apparently all for sale. One hears, and I heard it again last night. Mm. It's all for sale. Now, are they going to now say, oh, it's in Italy, we want to go to Italy, and we're going to pull our equipment back in and get geared up here and go to it in 2 years' time? Maybe. And maybe Mr. Dalton will help them out again the way he did
What's
last
the protocol they're going to do?
We don't know. We don't know if the protocol's as bad as that draft that I was sent and I exposed here on the air.
Yeah.
Not going to help anybody aside from the defender.
Yeah.
Now, so we think there was two teams, the Kiwis and the Italians, and they are huge rivals, and that will be a huge rival. If it's a one-on-one match,
yep,
I think, that could be very interesting.
Yes.
But what's Prada's real interest in doing this is that, sure, they want to win. Of course they want to win. But Prada wants to sell purses.
Why not?
Why not? So that's why they're in. They sell more stuff when they're in the cup. They've been using it as a vehicle now for 7 cups, right? As a promotional vehicle, and it works for them. Great.
Yeah.
All in favor of it. Now, who's the third team? If Sir Ben gets funded and the Royal Yacht Squadron sticks around, there's a third team, Athena Racing. I have checked again. Is there a possible link up between Ernesto Bertarelli, the Swiss challenger last time and the former, of course, winner of the Cup? Is he going to link up with Sir Ben? I hear not. There was a lot of talk, and maybe still is, but that seems to have all cooled way down, that the link up between Ernesto and Sir Ben is cooled down. It doesn't seem to be happening. Is Ernesto going to come in? I'm told again by senior series people in and close to his team, he's not. And he's not being Trump and bargaining and, saying, here's, I'm not coming in unless you sweeten the pot enough for me to come in. He's only going to come in if he has a chance of winning. That's his modus operandi. That's how he came in 2003 or 2000 for the 2003 Cup. So Clark Chapin is saying the over-under is either 2.9 or 3.1. Yeah, there might be 2 or maybe 3 teams. Anybody else? Is New York Yacht Club going to come in? Well, they're surveying the situation, but until they see the protocol, they're not going to make a decision. No team realistically is going to make a hard decision except apparently Luna Rossa. And there'll be private assurances. And maybe after the furor of that draft protocol that even Magnus the Magnificent called the daft protocol, maybe the protocol will be softer than the hugely softer, meaning better balanced than the hugely one-sided protocol that I read out to you after I got the draft. Hadn't even looked. It was so bad I really haven't even looked at it again. Gordon Smith is in for 5 participants. Okay, Clark, I hope you're writing this down. It's probably more fair to make these, to have a Fosey poll after we see the protocol. Anybody else have a view, let us know. But Gordon's gone out on a limb, bless his heart, and says 5 participants. I say 3 tops at this point. We'll see. And it's a shame. And frankly, had we done what Brad Butterworth and Ernesto wanted to do after the 2007 Cup, which was get rid of the IACC boats and go to a box rule, I can get rid of that Commodore Blakey comment. It'd go into a box rule AC90 or AC80 something, a big, a TP52 on steroids. Had we done that and kept that class around for 10, 15, 20 years, there'd be lots of teams and there'd be lots of, there'd be a fabulous event. So I don't know. The problem was that they came up with a fake challenger of records, CNEV, Club Nautico Español de Vela. As you all know, we challenged and then won because they were tipping the scales too heavily in their favor, and that was not correct. Okay, I still submit, I'm sorry to say, this outfit and that Commodore statement only confirms what I've been saying all along. They are not anything except in name, the Defender trustee. They've delegated to the team that responsibility, and illegally under New York trust law, deed and trust law, they are the worst trustee in Cup history. And Commodore Blakey, if you want to come on the show and tell me why I'm wrong, we'd be polite and delighted to have you on in that capacity, wouldn't we, Julia? Huh? Wouldn't we?
Of course.
Okay, Hamish Ross is on. He says 2. 2 years is too short for a new standing start. If so, it will be the first 2-team cup since '67. So the deed of gift matches in '88 and 2010 aside. He says 2 teams. Blake Middleton says 2 teams barely. Who else? Valencia had 3 syndicate. Yeah, good point from Stingray when I was talking with him this morning. Remember that, Julia, that Valencia had 3 Italian teams. I think that's what he meant by 3 syndicate teams. He means 3 Italian teams, plus 39, Luna Rossa, and who was the other Italian team? I've forgotten. But there's now an agreement, but the teams have with Mr. Dalton, that there will only be 1 team admitted per country, which is too bad because the U.S., remember, had 6 teams.
Right.
Fully 6 teams. And if New York comes back in, Julia, you're not going to be able to do your team from St. Francis Yacht Club.
No.
So even though you've raised $100 million probably in the 20 minutes we've been talking about
Oh, they'll come see me if I raise $100 million.
And you have a plane.
And
You'll
a
have
plane, yeah.
But you and Claire Harrington will have to put your heads together. You'll have to merge with the New York Yacht Club. You'd do that, wouldn't you? You could be chairman of the syndicate. You could donate your plane and American Magic.
Yes.
And the $100 million you're going to raise from Silicon Valley?
Easy.
You make a few phone calls. Okay, what other comments do we have here? Gordon Smith says the AC is a bet. It just needs a minimum of 2 competitors. Anything else is frosting. He says jam, but frosting on the cake. Ed Worley says that Hamish is right. Thank you, Stingray. Mascalzone Latino was the 3rd Italian team, and they'd been playing at the Cup for a couple, 3 cups by then.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Mascalzone Latino. Good guys. The new St. York Yacht Club, Tom Pace is saying, down in Pensacola. Is that the name of your club, Julie? You and Claire Harrington.
Yeah.
We could call it the Fosey Yacht Club. Yeah. You could challenge to the Beach Street. There's what we do. The Beach Street Yacht Club is the challenger. We got to have our annual regatta on Arm of the Sea.
Yeah.
Which we haven't had. And I don't want to make the same mistake that that Hamish and Ernesto made without having a regatta on Arm of the Sea before they became the challenger of record. The fake challenger of record, Hamish. I'm never going to let him live that down. Gordon, my picture of Tom getting mad at changing the clocks all over highly successful Europe only took 10 minutes on ChatGPT. The worst trustee in the history of and I'm not making light of this. This is a terrible thing that's going on.
For the Cup.
For the Cup. Say that again, Julia.
Yeah, for the Cup.
For the Cup.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some more details now on Naples. You all know where Naples is. It's well south of Rome. It's east of Sardinia. It's north of Sicily, as you all know, Palermo, and it's warm. It has that typical summer Mediterranean climate like Valencia, like Barcelona, like Marseille. It's lightish. The later you go in the summer, you have some sea breeze. And again, I've sailed there. I've judged there. We have, I've got some anecdotal stories from the 1960. Hamish is being defensive now. He's saying CNEV was not invented here. It's about 3 hours, a little less than that, high-speed rail from Rome. I've ridden that train, and it's a nice, especially if you get out to Capri and you get out to the islands. It's a nice part of the world, to be sure. Do they have a crime problem? Yes, they have a crime problem. It's run by the Camorra, by the mafia, or so they all say. And in a way, things were peaceful and easier when, according to everything I've read, and I've done a lot of reading, plus I've been there, yada, yada, and spent fair bit of time there. I have some dear friends from there. Having said all that, it was a lot. They don't mess with the tourists. Mm-hmm. They know that at least the mafia, the Camorra, don't mess with the tourists, or so that's the reputation. Yeah, the pickpocketing is bad, as we said at the top of the show. Sir Ben lost his gold Rolex, and they'd probably steal Sir Ben, and not just his watch, his one of you sent me a, I won't say who, one of our super Fozy sent that this morning. But the problem now is that in the last couple of years, the mafia have sort of lost control of the situation, and they've got kids running around, each of whom has a lot of whom, I should say, each have a gun, and they're gangs of these kids, teens and 20-year-olds running around trying to take over. And if you do look at the headlines and you look at the news stories, that's the crime problem. And it is a problem. But maybe it'll be okay. Maybe they'll really crack down. One of you this morning sent me a note saying, just they'll crack down. They'll toughen up on the crime because they don't want to ruin their one chance of, at least this chance of being in the sun with a lot of media coverage and foreign visitors and so on. We shall see how many actually come. No, it's not Tren de Agua. It's not that kind of gang. It's not that well developed. They're kids. They're not quite as developed as some of the Tren de Agua types, or so one reads. Naples, Napoli. Yeah, the question is, how are they going to get all this construction work? Do you know how long it takes to get stuff done here? I mean, this is no prize here because of the Coastal Commission and the Enviros and the Sierra Club, and anybody trying to do anything.
5 to 10 months to get a permit.
Well, if that. I mean, look at, they've issued how many since the fires in Los Angeles? How many permits have they issued to rebuild?
2 or something.
Well, it's 6 or 8, 10, but
out
less
of
than
7,000.
So, yeah, the kids don't target the tourists either. It's a neighborhood phenomenon. I think that is true too, Stingray, from what I'm reading. I hope it's true. But it's going to take a long time to do this remediation work, no doubt. And the teams would like to be there from October.
Yep.
This October. This Cup's in 2 years' time, less than. Now, this is as one of you said to me this morning, last night, I should say, it's a Hail Mary. We broke the news on this show, the Greeks couldn't do it in 2027. So Mr. Dalton is being a bit disingenuous when he says the Greeks had offered up the money. Well, they did, but they couldn't do it in 2027. They said, we'll do it in 2029. They didn't want to do it in 2028. We'll do it in 2029. And we told you, we broke that news on the show thanks to a couple of the Fozy on here who did some super good detective work. And we told you it was off in Athens. And suddenly Athens, after that, went quiet and we broke the news. We also know that Jeddah wanted more time. They're trying to do those developments on the Red Sea, on the western coast of Saudi Arabia. And of course, they got bigger fish to fry with the AI business and the stuff that's going on in Riyadh. And they said 2029. We got horse racing. We got Formula One. We got the other stuff going on. The America's Cup, how many teams you're going to have? There's some teams don't seem too keen to come here. And those people are not stupid. Well, there's no real upside to this unless you have a lot of teams coming and staying for a long time. That was always the beauty of the America's Cup, whether it was in Newport or since. You know, we were in Western Australia for the better part on and off for 3 summers. We were in Auckland for the better part of 2 summers with teams and people and families and visitors. Gordon Smith, Naples is Naples, and I love it. They will make it work, and it will be great. At least they don't arrest students who come visiting for a holiday. Ed Worley's asking if the Pope will show up at the races. Who knows? 29 months. It's not 29 months, Clark. It's going to be, and I think you are, it's right now. It's 2 years from right now, spring, summer in Naples. Okay, now shall we look at Stingray's charts about, and I don't know his source for this. He assures me these charts are good, and if you look at the average daytime temperature, any of you, such as Gordon Smith, who have been there, you know that it's warm. It's Mediterranean warm, and these are kind of average daytime highs and nighttime lows. So if you get this time of year in May, it's 76, the average daytime high, pretty pleasant. Can be warmer, it can be a little chillier. And the low is 58. June, it's a little warmer. July, it's plenty warm. It's like Valencia. You get 90-degree Fahrenheit days, which is plenty warm. lots of them, and sometimes a lot warmer than that. There's hardly any rainfall, and it goes downhill from May to June to July there on that bottom chart. And it's dry, and it's summery. Now, how about the wind? I actually think the wind is pretty good. Some people are complaining about the wind. As you see on this chart, if I go to camera fork, I don't know how well, you can't see that very well. I'll stay on the chart, so bear with me. By the way, Julia, we're about to have a facility to a telestrator for not a lot of money. I've been holding off because they've been way too expensive, but we're about to now be able to draw on our program feed going out, including on this chart.
Oh, good.
Including I can draw a mustache on your face. If we go to a close-up of you,
Oh, good.
draw a mustache on it right here.
Yeah. I need a mustache.
You do not need a mustache. It's according to Stingray's chart, in May, the average wind speed is 6 to 8 knots. Average daily wind, the daytime winds, I think that's daytime, right, Stingray? The average of mean hourly wind speeds with 25th to 75th and 10th. Okay. The average mean hourly wind speeds. During the day, it's higher than this because you do have a sea breeze. So this is the average hourly wind speeds. And that's over the course of the day. So it's going to be very light at night, and that's going to bring the average down. And during the day, you're going to have more breeze. And from experience, that's what you have there. 12, 14, sometimes quite a bit more, sometimes a 20-knot sea breeze. So again, like Barcelona, like Marseille, you can have usually a pretty good sea breeze, May, June, July, August, not really unlike here. It's not as windy as it is here. So if anybody has a better idea, a better handle on the wind speed, Ed Worley, it ain't the heat, it's the humidity. Yeah, there's humidity, but there's humidity everywhere. Actually, it feels very hot in the summer. Yes, it is, because there's heat and humidity, but okay, it's hot in the summertime in the Med. Those wind speeds are averages. Afternoon breeze is normally decent. That's what I'm saying, yeah. Stingray. Okay, so you're confirming that. I would take Naples over any venue in the Middle East, Ed Worley is saying. I think a lot of people would, Ed. I think they agree. I blame Clayton for insisting she needs a mustache. Oh, we can give her another pour. Drump, meaning Trump, should hire Daltz to make his deals the art of deal that actually happens. Well, Tim Cullinan. Hello, Tim. I'm not sure. Where are you from, Tim? Nice to have you on. I think more important is not the mean hourly wind speed, but either the mean hourly wind speed from noon to 1700. Yes. Yes, Clark Javen. I think there is a sea breeze. I know there's a sea breeze from experience. And Jody keeps talking about what's blowing in the wind in Amsterdam, and everybody be happy because of the so-called cafes there, Julia.
Yeah,
they're smoking weed. Okay, we did have those two events there in 2012 and 2013 in the AC45s, were they by then, catamarans. And this is a video, forgive the quality. It's a 720p video taken with my old iPhone, 10-year-old iPhone by then, or 10 years ago iPhone, standing up on the shore to give my people a feel for what was going on. We were outside the lounge for the Oracle team lounge, and we got some VIPs there with us. And we're out watching the finish because the finish is literally right off the rocks, right out there in front in the Gulf, in the bay. And then I stand up and look down to the left on the beach, which is where the hoi polloi, all the visitors are, and where the village was. And there were literally 1 million people there both days, big turnout. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe it was a Thursday, I can't remember, 5-day event, 4-day event. And I would go down and do a dog and pony show on a huge stage in the park with a couple of my Italian friends, Andrea Tagliamaco, his girlfriend, Nicolo Porzio. And I mean, we had a huge crowd. It was like a rock concert, and it was a lot of fun. And you'll see this video gives you a bit of a flavor for what the scene was over a decade ago.
We are here in front of the Oracle Intel Lounge. This will be Prada's first win in the 34th edition of the America's Cup. Prada Swordfish winning the race right here with Energy and Artemis and the rest of the fleet here on the shore in front of the Oracle Intel Lounge. The Innovation Lounge is quite, here's Fresh. Hi, Fresh. And a nice crowd that have come out from the Innovation Lounge to see this finish. But if you want to really see a crowd, you look up over and see the thousands of people down the breakwater as we now see Artemis and Energy finishing. Next will be in fourth the other Prada boat. This is Prada Piranha coming in for the finish right here in front of, right off the breakwater, not even 50 meters off the breakwater. Television helicopter. You can see the castle in the background, our hotel right across the street from the castle down at the end of the shore. And you can't quite see the thousands of people down the shore watching. Here is China team having a much better race. They've been last in most of the races, finishing 9.876.
Okay, so you get the idea. I just wanted you to see the proximity, how close we were. But I'm not sure they're going to run the racing here. I don't know where they're going to run the racing. Nobody does, apparently. They got to do some studies about more studies than they no doubt have already done. And apologies for the quality of this video, but as I said, I was shooting it on whatever iPhone I had 10 years ago. More than 13 years ago.
That's good for them.
Well, yeah, but man, compared to today,
losing to Darren Bundock,
and you can see the wind. That's that's typical breeze. You can have light days, and you can have more breeze than that.
And finally, Team Korea.
And it was, here come the Koreans. But that's more teams. Look at how many teams we have. This is leading up to 2013 here. And, of course, a lot of those teams didn't show up in San Francisco.
All European except for New Zealand?
Well, and Korea.
And Korea.
Was Japan there? I can't remember if Japan was there. So that's that video outside what we call the Oracle Racing, the Innovation Lounge. Here is a typical street scene in downtown, I guess you would say, Naples, and typical European narrow streets and nice cafes and a lot of fun and great food and nice people. The people are nice. And, we all know about their pizza. The Neapolitan pizza, and I would vouch for the fact that it's the best pizza I think I've ever had. As I said, I spent a fair bit of time there, both for two reasons. One, a dear friend who was on the council of IY, International Yacht Racing, the predecessor to World Sailing, a gentleman named Carlo Rolandi and his wife Laura, long gone. He was president of the Star Class. He was an Olympic crew, maybe even an Olympic skipper at one point. He was also president of for many years, the FIV, the Federazione Italiana di Vela, the national authority.
Yeah.
And we were good friends. I'd taken him to the America's Cup Newport 1980 and hosted him there, and we were on juries together all over the world. And he invited my wife, Leslie, and I down to Naples several times, and we'd go down and hang out, look around the town. And, you had to be careful because of the pickpockets. And we would go out to Capri, which is beautiful, to the Blue Grotto. And it's nice. It's a nice part of town. The weather was nice, and we had great meals and a lot of fun. But we were escorted everywhere.
Yes.
He was a deputy mayor, in fact, of Naples for a while. He was an architect who helped build their underground, their metro, their subway system. Very, very super cool guy. The other person with whom I had a fair bit of experience was Andrea Tagliamaco, who is from Naples.
I forget
you
that
remember Andrea.
Sure.
And his Turkish girlfriend.
Yes.
both of whom worked for us, for Oracle, for a number of years, 2 campaigns, I think, in our marketing department. Then he went on to work for the Swedes, for Artemis Racing. And after he worked for Artemis, he's now, I think he still is the marketing director or some marketing something, or the sponsor or something for the Ocean Race.
Oh, yeah.
Living in Madrid and splitting his time between Madrid and Alicante. Fluent Spanish speaker, Italian speaker. Mm-hmm. And as I said, sort of was my daughter Meg's surrogate big brother. We were very close, kind of family, surrogate family, and all when we lived in Spain in particular. So Stingray has spent a fair bit of time there too, but it was always escorted. We always had security. Our team had really top-notch security because I'm not even sure if Larry went. I can't remember. And yes, there's art everywhere. The place is interesting. Yeah, it's Gordon. They didn't trust me. They thought I thought I would try to steal pizza out of the pizza oven.
Right.
And enough of all that. So, I know the town, know the people, and I know how afraid some of them are of others coming in and maybe running into trouble. And sometimes on your own volition, you do stupid things and you get into trouble.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll see how this all pans out. And there's the Bay of Naples. That's where we think the main, I don't know if it's going to be there where the P is or it's going to be over by Pazzulli, where the racing center is going to be. But I think it's going to be where that, see if this works better on, it doesn't work. I haven't tuned this camera up. I think it's there, and I think these are the docks. That's that Bagnoli over here, where I think the technical bases are going to be for the teams over toward Puzzoli. Correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you think otherwise. Now, the Olympics were there, the Sailing Olympics, in 1960. The main Olympics were in Rome. The sailing at the games of the 17th Olympiad, Gulf of Naples, first race the 29th of August, and the last race was the 7th of September. There were 287 competitors from 46 nations, 138 boats. So this from Wikipedia, not from On This Day. Sailing yachting is an Olympic sport starting from the games of the first Olympiad in 1896, as you all know, with the exception of 1904. Meet me in St. Louis, where they didn't have any water then. And the canceled 1916 Summer Olympics, sailing has always been included on the Olympic schedule, as you Brits would say. The sailing program of 1960 consisted of a total of 5 sailing classes. For each class, 7 races, the typical old standard Olympic program. 7 races were scheduled from the 21 race per day from the 29th of August to the 7th of September. And they had these 2, 4, 5 classes. And do you recognize all those classes, Julia?
5.5. Yeah. Except the last one.
The little one on the left is the Finn Dinghy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the Flying Dutchman.
Yep.
Then the Star. Then the Dragon.
And
you remember who won the Dragon gold medal? Our old friend, His Majesty King Constantine.
Oh, that's
Greece,
right.
The late, great King Constantine. And then the 5.5 meter. Now, excuse me, those were the 5 classes. Those were the results. Paul Elstrom winning one of his many gold medals in the Finn class. The Norwegians, the Soviets, Tamir Panegan, who I knew from IYRU, World Sailing Days. He was then Crown Prince. Constantine won the Dragon. And the American crew of George O'Day, James Hunt, and David Smith. And I don't know if any of them is still around. Hans Fogh, I think he has passed away. He was a silver medalist from Denmark, immigrated to Canada and made sails, of course, an old friend. And Bill Parks in the U.S. was 3rd, was bronze medalist in the Star class. And I knew Bill very well. He was also president of the Star class at one point. And I haven't really talked to any of them about the 60 Olympics except Constantine. And for reasons I don't need to bore you all with, that King Constantine, when he was king, the exiled king of Greece living in London, he and I were good friends. And we talked about the 60 Olympics. He said, oh, yeah, it was great, but it was light. It was light. So, and that's all I can tell you anecdotally. It was light and hot. It was light and, as he called it, light and shitterly. I'll never forget that. So we'll see. Buddy and Bill Benson won the FD bronze 1 Olympics later. Yes, they did. Stingray is saying the seafood is really good there too. Well, you know, I don't care about much of anything except the sailing conditions and the shoreside facilities for the teams and the living conditions for the teams and how many teams will the venue, this event, attract. And if all of you think it's only going to be 2, maybe 3 teams, 4 at the tops, 4 at the outset, at the tops, not at the outset, 2 at the outset, 4 tops, we'll see. Any other thoughts before? Yeah, Hans Foe, hasn't Hans passed? I know his son Thomas Foe, and I thought his dad had passed away. I'm not sure. I knew Hans well, too. My daughter knew Hans. We called him, he had a nickname, the Little Spinner. That's it for another. Ted Ryman says 6. Mark it down, Clark, if you would, please. Ted Ryman thinks 6 teams. Wow, he's optimistic. Anything else on the venue? We'll have plenty of time to discuss it in future, no doubt, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Going once, going twice. I see no other comments. Gordon says 5 teams now. Okay. It looks like Ted Ryman he's the most optimistic.
I love Clark's answer. From the bookie, an over-under bet has to be an integrate. I'm recording Rick Bannerow as a 4.
Okay. Yeah, Stingray and I were talking about this article, the Cagliari in Sardinia, which is where the Luna Rossa team base is. They thought they had a deal with Grant Dalton, but they're happy that it's in Naples. Well, it wasn't Cagliari that made the call.
Mm-mm.
It was the central government. It was the prime minister and her sports minister or sports and youth minister, because they're going to pay for most of this, not Naples. They made the call, and I don't need to go look, but I can venture a guess. Blake is saying 2 teams. I'll venture a guess that the politicians in Naples are of the same party, same persuasion, as the politicians in power in Rome. And I suspect that Cagliari were not so aligned. Chris actually says 3 teams, TNZ, Athena, meaning the Brits, and American. Well, but there's going to be 4 teams then, Chris, because the Italians are going to be there. You don't think the Italians will be there? I hope Ben is there. I hope Athena is there. I hope New York is there, but I have my doubts about both of them. Okay, a little more America's Cup news, Julia. Speaking of the Brits and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, several of you sent this to me. It was in the Times either last night, either yesterday or today. This is their annual reportage about the billionaires. And remember, Sir Jim used to be at the top of the list. He was the richest guy in the UK.
Yep.
Over the past year, his total wealth has slipped, according to the Times, by £6.5 billion. So he's down from 23 something down to 17 billion pounds net worth. And I don't know, well, I know the names, I guess, but you go down to the bottom and Andy Curie, I guess that's how that's pronounced, like Madam Curie. Andy Curie is one of Sir Jim's partners in Ineos. Likewise, his net worth has slipped, according to the Times. And if we look at this chart, and this thanks, the first one to send it to me was Andrew Pindar, but several others of you did as well. Boy, we have great Fozy who send me stuff, Julia.
Yes, absolutely.
You all do not know how much you're appreciated. I say it again, and I'll say it
many times.
Yeah. Total debt at the 72-year-old mogul's Ineos empire has climbed to more than 8.8 billion pounds. And the group posted losses of 124 million pounds last year, 2024. Ratcliffe has also injected more than 300 million into Man U, into his football club.
Mm-hmm.
So his net worth in 2024 was 23.5 billion pounds, and he's now down to 17 billion pounds. Now, it still is a lot of money, but Julia, for you, you know, that's not a lot of money.
No.
Huh?
No.
That's, you know, you're rich.
Oh.
I shouldn't say that because I think fewer people signed up as a patron because
It's also because it's not true.
because they think you're funding this operation, which you are in some ways. Much appreciated,
but not at the $1 billion category.
Well, and as I said to Stingray this morning, you know, let's say you've got $23,000 in your bank account.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, more my style.
Mm-hmm.
23,000, and then it dips to 17,000 at the end of the year. I'd feel, man, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge loss.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all relative.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yours just keeps going up. The market's back. How's the market doing today? I didn't look. I was too busy putting this show together.
I didn't look either.
So this is being funded by Rome. It's being funded by the prime minister. She's got an election after the cup. And if the cup goes well, I think she'll probably do well in the election. If the cup doesn't, probably no one will pay attention. And as Clark Chapin says, debt is only a problem if you plan on paying it. You can always avoid that by declaring bankruptcy, as you know who has repeatedly done. He loves President Trump. Well, he hasn't ever declared bankruptcy. Clark, that's not correct. Some of his companies have casinos in, in
New Jersey.
Not Jersey City, in Atlantic City.
Atlantic City.
In New Jersey. Clay Embley is saying, Julia, about you. Julia wrote a check and the bank bounced.
Oh, I love that. Oh, if it were only true.
Oh, Clayton. Oh, my goodness. So this is coming out of Rome. And the prime minister, and that's why I used her as the cover side today. And again, if you weren't with us at the top of the show, in bocca al lupo is Italian. What's the word I want, Julia? When it's a figure, not a figure of speech, it's colloquialism. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It means literally in the mouth of the wolf. And that's how Italians casually, I mean, you could say buona fortuna, which means good luck, literally. But in bocca al lupo is how friends would say to each other, and then the reply is, well, I hope the wolf dies or something.
Yeah.
In the mouth of the wolf. And she is taking a big bite, and I'm not sure she knows what she's gotten herself into, but she's pushing ahead, and bravo Zulu to her for the sake of our beloved sport. I hope this all comes off beautifully, Julia.
I do too.
Final word to you.
No, it's worth a challenge. It's worth a shot. And I don't know that it has to be the most expensive cup ever done.
I just wish there were more teams.
Yes.
And as Alan Long says, good for her.
Yeah.
Best not to look to the markets. Pedro Foiling Sailor said, good morning, Peter. What time is it in? Well, it's hell in Sydney. It's 7:30. He's been up for 2 hours. Go sailing and have fun. Indeed. That's the theme of these shows. We're going to go sailing and have fun. And Julia, they've not been doing much sailing, and they've not been having much fun in Qingdao. They had 4 days of 4 consecutive days of still air and thick fog. The ILCA World Championships in Qingdao finally saw its first official races on day 5 today, Friday the 16th. Tomorrow's the last day. And there's no video. There's no, there even of the races yesterday, at least not that I'd had by airtime. Let me go back to that. I do have results for those of you who are interested. In the ladies, you see Zoe Thompson from Australia is in 5th. Some of you would be interested. You'll be interested in all these people, presumably. And Elise Ainsworth is also doing well from Australia. And then the American Erica Reinecke is in 8th. So she's had 3. They got 3 races in for the ladies. The men only got 2 in from memory. no throwout yet. And I don't know what they're doing today. If John's watching, he'll probably tell us, but presumably they're going right to these medal races with these top 10 down to Sarah Savelli, who's from Italy. I wonder if she's a relation of Marco Savelli, who was with that third Italian team with Mascalzone Latino.
Mm-hmm.
Any other names there? I guess that's it. And then we go over to the men where they've only had 2 races. And Pavlos Kontidis is in the hunt as usual, the Cypriot. They're in 3rd place. I don't know the German names. And who else do we recognize in that list? Isaac Schotte from Australia. The Kiwi Thomas Saunders. I recognize that name. But the rest of those names are Zach Littlewood. I recognize that name too, up in 5th place from Australia. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. But I guess today, Saturday down there now, they're going to the medal races that John and Lily, Golden Lily, are going to be calling for us. If you watch it live tonight, 7 o'clock our time.
They may have to dance.
Well, I don't know what the weather conditions are either, so we'll see. But that is ILCA, the final day.
Mm-hmm.
There's John's theme music in that slide. Final day of racing at the ILCA Worlds at 7 p.m., not 9 hours, less than 9 hours now. When I did that screen grab, it was 9 hours. Today at 1900 Pacific, 0200 UTC, John and Golden Lily providing live TV coverage. Lily there on the scene, and John from their apartment in Weymouth. And good coverage, as you said, Julia. Huh? You watched it.
Yes, I think they're a great team.
They are indeed. Now, Julia, we were hoping, in fact, some of us were expecting to have a decision today, a final confirmation of Long Beach, hopefully, knock on wood, as the venue for the 2028 Olympics. And unless, I haven't looked at my text, unless anybody knows more than I, there was more than a rumor. There was, I don't see anything here. There were opinions from senior serious people in SoCal that we were going to have a decision. I'm looking at the text from Lisa Meyer, the Commodore of Long Beach Yacht Club. No, she was watching the LA Council was having a meeting, thought it might somehow come out at that council meeting.
Right.
Because the crouton, the gentleman, Mr. McCosker, who is from San Pedro, they thought maybe he would say something about it, or they would. But the 2028 Olympic venue, the croutonic LA politicians, and maybe there's some croutonicism at World Sailing as well. One never knows what is going on. But when things don't smell right, when things don't add up, Julia, what do?
Investigate.
You follow the
money.
And I just think there's some money afoot somewhere. And the Port of LA's got a lot of money, and they seem to be willing to spend it, sometimes on sailing. Witness the Sail GP event there. And I'm wondering if they haven't promised LA 28 and World Sailing some big money if they move the event from Long Beach to San Pedro. Again, this is becoming a real problem in our sport, where events go to venues that have big bucks on offer, not necessarily the best sailing conditions on offer. And I'm worried about this one. I have a bad feeling about this. I hope I'm wrong, but the croutonic LA politicians, I hope they see the light and name Long Beach as the correct venue. It is the correct venue, because this is not the correct venue.
I think that the solution is to call it Los Angeles area and hold it in Long Beach.
You are so nice. You are so nice. They're not looking for LA branding. I mean, there's going to be 11 events in Long Beach, and there's going to be a village there, and there's going to be housing there.
Yes.
It's a certain small group of people. There's some money flowing somewhere from that port of LA into the hands or pockets of somebody that is trying to get it moved from Long Beach, where it's been confirmed for months by LA 28, the organizing committee for the games. Write to David Graham, even if this, who knows how long this is going to drag on. So write to david.graham@sailing.org and tell him what you think.
Actually, I haven't done that, and I thought I was going to.
You should, Julia.
Yes, I will.
And I hope I'm being a nervous Nelly. Okay, Julia, in Bocca al Lupo. You say that all in one kind of, you don't pronounce the AL. It's in Bocca al Lupo. Which gets us to the last leg. We're on, gosh darn, an hour and 42 minutes into the show. I thought we would be shorter than that today. But if you're just joining us or have joined us latterly, we do this every Tuesday and Friday with great fun with our friends from all around the world. Thousands of people watch this show live and in replay, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Appreciate you very much. So the last leg, I promised you another look around Naples, and that's what this video is going to do. In the last leg, here it is.
You know, the sea is deciding what we can do, and today the sea is quite nice with us, so we can decide.
Video courtesy of Tour Radar. I've never heard of them, but I saw it today on YouTube, so I thought we would go with it. Clark Chapin is saying, "What is Medmore?" That's stern mooring. Clark, tying the stern of the boat toward the breakwater, and then you have a buoy out front to take care of the bow, and you put a little gangplank from the breakwater up to the back end of the boat. Med tie, sometimes it's called Medmore. My mom and I love Capri, Stingray says. I do too. It's nice out there. It's really nice out there. So we shall see. It's a nice way to end the show, isn't it? With a nice, positive, upbeat video, Julia?
It is.
Does it make you want to go there?
I've only been to Capri once, and it was for lunch.
Ted Ryman, no surprise. I've ridden all that coast on my motorbike back in 1975. I don't want a pickle, just want to ride my motorcycle.
Yeah.
Ted Ryman, that's in honor of you. Thank you, Blake Middleton, and everybody else. Blake is one of our longtime regular contributors.
Yes.
We appreciate that very much.
First on board, almost always.
And that's about it. We do have a couple jokes. Tune the Radar is a joke you play on new seamen shipping aboard ships. Yeah, right. What is it? Is it La Dolce Vita or It's La Dolce Vita, right?
Yes.
La. Arlo Guthrie, Clark Chapin. Yes. I don't want a pickle. I don't want to. I just want to ride. I don't want to die. Just want to ride my motorcycle. Right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Woodstock, Julia. That was your era.
No, it was too late.
Okay. We got a few funnies here in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, as always, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I have the names up on these correctly. I had a little problem just at the end. That's why we were a minute or so late getting on. I apologize. But this one came from several of you. I think I've given credit to Gordon Smith. I'm sure he loves this. Remember to connect to male to female, the electrician is saying in the hard hat. And the lady is saying, why assign gender roles to electrical connections? Let the circuits decide their own identities.
Of course.
So I don't know if Gordon Smith sent that one, Julia.
Yeah.
Or not, but I'll give him credit. We'll dedicate that one to him.
All right.
Since he likes that. Maybe he doesn't. Then there's this one, which I know didn't come from Gordon Smith. I know this came from Greg Phillips. And this, I am sure not. Gordon Smith is saying. This came, so Gordon, I just had you on the mind. I kept trying to assign one of these to you, but this, you see this guy.
Oh, Mark Collins says that was me.
Oh, that was Mark Holland sent? Okay, we'll go back. So Mark sent that. Thank you, Mark Holland, not Gordon Smith. This one, and I didn't even get the caption on here. The guy's got his mouth wide open, and the others are saying, stop shouting just because you forgot your parachute.
Mm-hmm.
That was not Gordon Smith either. That was, I don't know who sent that one. Maybe Gordon didn't send that one. I've changed the names at the end properly, and then they didn't make it into the transfer from one. I do the slideshow on one machine, on the main machine. And then at the end of the show, when everything's done, because I can do it on the big, higher powered machine, it auto moves via your favorite iCloud onto the machine that plays the slideshow, the keynote during the show, to separate the broadcast computer from the keynote. And sometimes we have a syncing up problem, Julia. It didn't sync. And I mean, not the kitchen sink, SYNC sync.
That right?
Now, is Andrew, oh, he is on. Capri now drowned in 6,000 to 10,000 day trippers every day. Andrew McIrvin says he's there.
Yeah.
He is there. You put foil on the hard hats and make them move around. Sometimes you make them swing a broom covered. I don't know what that, there's jokes going on. They're making jokes. Okay, so we wrap this up here with one more. This one, I know from whom this came. Some of us grew up playing with boats. The cool ones still do. Mm-hmm. Nice closing sentiment for our Sailing Illustrated show number 834. Is it today, Julia?
Yes.
And that gets us to the finish line. And at the finish line, Julia, you like to say,
do not forget today to like, follow, and share, and especially share.
Yeah, exactly. And the comments are welcome, even in replay, as many of you do watch it in replay. We leave the comments open. It's one of the few shows to do because we get precious few. I mean, virtually no violations of our prime directive, which is no personal attacks, no name calling, and no use of coarse language. Only Julia can use swear words. Nobody else can use swear words.
Which I do often.
Yes, you are not a potty mouth. Thank goodness. Thank you also to all of you who support us via Patreon, the patrons that support us via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thank you so much for your support. And also thanks to those that somebody asked me, what's that slide? It's THANKYOU in international flags. Fun show today, Clayton, Emily. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. And thanks to the folks who did give us or let us use their audio, video, and images from various places. This is indeed a very respectful show. Even Jody can, he does not use coarse language. The coarsest word he uses is testicles. Thanks, Stingray. Thanks for your help putting this show together.
Yes, he did a lot.
And thanks to Julia, to you, and to all of the FOSI and just the casual watchers. We appreciate each and every one of you. We hope you have a great weekend wherever in the world you are. Go sailing. And if you do, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.